Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a question that honestly can make or break a company's future. How should you actually structure your IT organization? This isn't just about shuffling boxes on an org chart. It's really about building an engine that's going to drive growth and innovation. All right, let's kick things off with a super important warning. So many leaders today are looking at new tech, especially AI, and thinking it's some kind of magic bullet. But here's the hard truth. If you just slap powerful technology on top of a broken or outdated structure, you're not solving problems. You're actually just making them bigger. And this right here, this is exactly why that happens. Think of your IT operating model as this crucial, essential puzzle piece. It's the engine, right? It's what translates your big, high-level business strategy into actual, real-world value. If you mess this part up, your grand strategy, it just stays an idea on a piece of paper. So to really get a handle on the choices we have today, we've got to take a quick look back. How did we even get here? The thing is, the structure of IT has always evolved right alongside the technology it's supposed to manage. It's really been this 60-year pendulum swing. We started way back in the mainframe era with total centralization. One IT department controlled everything. Then the PC revolution came along and just shattered that, leading to a decade of, decentralized chaos. The 2000s? That was all about trying to wrangle that chaos back in with shared services. And then the 2010s brought us the agile, product-focused models that are so common today. And now AI is kicking off the next massive shift. Okay, so that whole history has basically left us with 6 main structural models that you see businesses using today. So let's dive in and break down each one. First up, we've got the classic centralized model. The best way to think about this one is as a command and control structure. You've got one single IT team that makes all the decisions, manages all the stuff, and sets all the policies. It's perfect for huge organizations like Walmart or big banks, where things like consistency, security, and, of course, cost efficiency are the absolute top priorities. And the trade-off here is crystal clear. On the plus side, you get this ironclad governance, huge economies of scale, and fantastic risk management. But the downside? Well, IT can easily become a bottleneck. It can be super slow to respond to what different business units actually need, and it can really end up stifling local innovation. Okay, now let's flip the scripts and look at the complete opposite, the decentralized model. In this setup, IT responsibility is basically handed out to the different business units or regions. Each one gets its own independent IT team. This is absolutely tailor-made for a company like, say, Procter & Gamble, which has tons of different product lines, and each one needs to innovate super fast for its own market. So yeah, this approach totally empowers those local teams to move fast and build exactly what they need. But, and it's a big but, it comes at a cost. You end up with all these redundant systems, which drives up expenses, and you're risking this messy patchwork of security and compliance policies, which can make enterprise-wide integration a complete and total nightmare. All right. Next up is the functional model. So instead of organizing by business unit, here you organize by technical skill. You'll have a cybersecurity team, an infrastructure team, an applications team. You get the idea. This is fantastic for building really deep, specialized expertise, which makes it pretty much ideal for stable, process-heavy industries like manufacturing. What happens is you end up creating these amazing centers of excellence, right? With super clear lines of accountability. The major risk, though, is that these specialist teams can get siloed off. They can become disconnected from the day-to-day needs of the business they're actually supposed to be serving, and that can really grind innovation to a halt. Okay, now things start to get a little more complex with what's called the matrixed model. Here, an IT person actually has 2 bosses. They report to a functional boss in the IT department, and they report to a business unit boss. The whole goal is to try and get the best of both worlds. You get that strong central governance, but you combine it with deep business alignment. When it works, this structure can foster some incredible collaboration. It can make sure IT is always working on what the business truly needs. But that dual reporting thing, it can be a real headache. It often leads to conflicts, can slow down decision-making, and brings a ton of administrative overhead just to manage it all. So let's move on to a model that has pretty much taken over the tech world, the product-based organization. Just think of companies like Netflix or Spotify. The key idea here is you don't have projects, you have products. And these small, cross-functional teams have complete end-to-end ownership of their product. We're talking everything from development to security to operations. Look, this model is built for one thing and one thing only: speed. It gives teams incredible autonomy and accountability, and that lets them innovate at a blistering pace. The risk, though, and it's a bit like the decentralized model, is that you might have different product teams solving the same problem in totally different ways. That makes it really tough to maintain any kind of consistent standards across the whole company. And that brings us to our final model, the federated or hybrid model. This is probably the most common approach you'll see for large global companies today. It's really a strategic compromise. You centralize the stuff that absolutely must be standardized, things like core infrastructure and cybersecurity, but then you give the business units the freedom to execute and innovate on their own, locally. The whole idea here is to get the strong governance of a centralized model, but with the agility of a decentralized one. The best of both worlds, right? But, and this is key, this delicate balance only works if communication is flawless and the lines between the central and local teams are crystal clear. If not, you just end up creating turf wars. Okay, so there you have it. Those are your 6 main options. Now for the big question. How in the world do you pick the right one for your business? Well, it really all comes down to understanding the trade-offs. And what's so great about looking at it this way is how clearly it lays out those trade-offs. Just look at the extremes. A centralized model, you get high cost efficiency, but you're going to be slow. A product-based model, you get lightning speed, but at a much lower efficiency. The point is, there's no single best model. There's only the best fit for whatever your strategic priorities are. So to find that perfect fit, you really need to ask yourself 4 key questions. First off, what is IT's strategic role? Is it just a cost center, or is it supposed to be a driver of innovation? Second, how big and complex is your company? Third, what are your regulatory demands? Are you in a highly regulated industry? And fourth, how fast does your market change? Your answers to these questions are going to point you directly toward the right structure. But listen, the evolution isn't stopping here, not by a long shot. As we saw back in that timeline, there's a new force that is already starting to reshape everything, and that's artificial intelligence. And this brings us right to the edge of the next frontier, something people are starting to call the agentic organization. In this future model, the very nature of work is going to change. Humans are going to shift from doing all the tasks to supervising small teams of really capable AI agents that can execute entire workflows all on their own. And all of this leaves us with one final and I think critical question you need to be asking. Is your organization's structure built to solve yesterday's problems, or is it truly ready for tomorrow's opportunities? Because choosing the right model isn't just about efficiency today. It's about building an organization that's agile and adaptable enough for a future where technology isn't just a tool we use, but a core collaborator we work with. Thanks for watching The Explainer.